Before we start today's video, check out our merch shop, linked in the description down below. Use code AHSOKA in all caps to get $7 off your order. May the force be with you, and enjoy the vid.
Hello there.
This is where the fun begins.
What's up guys, Unofficial Star Wars here. Hope you're all doing well, and in this video we are going to be discussing the finale, the overall conclusion as an overview of Star Wars' The Acolyte over on Disney+, what it means for the possible potential future of not just an Acolyte Season 2, but really the overall franchise, and what we could see in the near future, and even far out future, into the regards of Disney+ projects, shows, and movies as well. Of course, we're going to go ahead, we're going to hop right on into it, break it all down for you guys, everything that we know and everything that we're anticipating right now. Before we do though, however, grab that subscribe button if you haven't already, as we're discussing and covering all types of Star Wars related news, leaks, rumors, theories, and breakdowns here on the channel. So if you guys are into any of that, go ahead and grab that subscribe button today. Okay, so in this video we are going to be taking a quick read from one of my favorites out there, StarWarsNewsNet.com. I'll have their article linked in the description down below for you guys to check out there, as well as an overall garnering source. So it really seems that the Acolyte has gone out on a high note, is something that I think a lot of people out there are kind of agreeing a little bit more and more on, now that the Acolyte has come to a conclusion in the last couple of weeks, with its finale coming out a couple weeks ago. People have taken the time to kind of like let it sit, let it saturate a little bit, and really start coming out with some of those final thoughts here after the show's conclusion. So their article reads, in what seems to be a response to their piece last week on the very segment complaining about the subpar performance of The Acolyte, both story-wise and also in terms of its viewership and numbers, Leslye Headland was saving the best for last, it seems. There's no getting around it, and they absolutely loved the finale. So an often complaint I've seen about The Acolyte, or really just take even at that, not even necessarily as a complaint, is that a lot of the episodes were off and on, essentially. There are honestly some really good episodes some weeks, and other weeks there are some not so great episodes, essentially. And it seems that The Acolyte goes out on a high with its finale. Are there any weak links within the script? Absolutely. Hardly any Star Wars story has airtight writing, of course, especially in this day and age. Even their beloved The Last Jedi can be even in that aspect, of course, they'll admit. But what matters is how it makes them feel. We don't need the story to make perfect sense. We need it to make not notice the flaws, because we're so focused on how, what it's trying to really convey at the end of the day as an overarching story, and all those other under conditions as well. The season 1 finale of this series, which we guess was also titled The Acolyte, was some of the best Star Wars that they have seen personally in years. The characters of Osha and may have not been the most fleshed out characters to have walked the galaxy, but the truth is that we understand where both of them are kind of coming from, especially within the finale episode. We're also quite invested in their dynamics when we really do finally get to see them together. The ending was pretty tragic too, but we'll also be honest on that forefront. It was quite disappointed that we didn't see more tragedy, essentially, that we didn't get to see the twins maybe leave with the stranger. May had also admittedly completed her quest of killing off the 4 Jedi that were stationed on Brendok. Well, maybe not Sol, but Osha took care of that, of course, RIP, so maybe there was no reason for her to go back with, the stranger, or Quimar. Speaking of which, Manny Jacinto's character was also not, over the 2 moons of Brendok about her as an acolyte or as an apprentice, but yet we would have liked to see Osha at least try to get back with her sister, at the same time as well. That encounter kind of felt like a forced, pun intended, scene within the episode and within the finale. Osha and Quimar are kind of now together, flipping the sides, the 2 sides there, essentially, on this unnamed planet of where Plagueis is also revealed to be hiding away. Leslye Headland had also confirmed in a recent interview with comicbook.com that he is indeed Quimar's master. It may have also seemed quite obvious, but part of us were kind of wondering if Manny Jacinto's character was even aware of, Plagueis' presence there, but it definitely seems that, that's kind of like a confirmed and implied thing there as well. It also, honestly, has some heavy implications and sets things up, I think, massively for a possible potential season 2. Because of the way that the finale was kind of treated and the way it had ended with Plagueis there, it really is the big one. It kind of like makes everybody want there to be a season 2 of this show and to have more kind of implied on with all of these characters. It would have been cool, albeit perhaps maybe out of the character, if he was manipulating his mind from a distance the entire time, but even then I feel like that would be kind of like a cheap shot, if I'm being honest. It also is quite interesting for Headland to confirm this without any type of hesitation, considering that last week she didn't really want to say that, Mother Anicia was the one that had kind of created the twins from the Force per se, as the finale was set to answer that question, really solidify and confirm it, even though it was kind of implied all the way back in episode 3. Speaking of by which, the showrunner Leslye Headland definitely kept her word, not really to leave us hanging there with unanswered questions, but does kind of leave us there with, setting things up essentially. Most of it all seen within season 1. Mysteries have been resolved by now, and there are good teases of where this story could go and would go in the potential future with a second season. And to that regard, it's definitely a good conclusion. And yet, there is no denying that the season was entirely uneven. In hindsight, as I had mentioned of by which, there were some episodes that were not so great, and there were some episodes that were really great, kind of like an every other week kind of scenario. The mystery storyline of kind of what had happened on Brendock and those flashbacks should have been wrapped by the second episode, or dropped entirely by that time. We get the whole Rashomon aspect and, that Last of Us Part 2 kind of paralyzed that were too juicy not to explore, and that are really the gears to make the story go, but it ultimately hurt the show on focusing so much effort of what had happened on Brendock in those flashbacks. Like, give us the one flashback and let's call it good and kind of move on from there essentially, especially for such an underwhelming answer at that for many fans, and also less on developing the characters. It also feels quite easy to say that all of the episodes should have been longer, 60 minutes long, yet the truth is that the finale at 40 minutes felt pretty well paced anyway. It had a beginning, a middle, and an ending, of course, and by the time the credits had rolled, it didn't feel like we had been, offered half of a finished product, maybe like other Star Wars shows may do to us, kind of cutting us a little bit short, it feels like. That wasn't exactly the case with some of the previous episodes. We'd like to admit that we wanted them to be a little bit longer and kind of flesh things out maybe a little bit more. Overall, point being, it feels like the Acolyte could have kind of ended on a worse note, and honestly, it feels like it ended on a high note, is what the point being, and that how this is going to affect future Star Wars. I think that there's greater implications of a Season 2 going into development of the Acolyte. It's something that even a lot of Star Wars fans are talking about on various social media platforms, which I think is really a great thing, and honestly, I hope it comes to fruition. Not just that, but it also, unfortunately, for some odd reason, has an implication and impact on how people are going to view other Star Wars shows that are outside of the Acolyte, essentially, like Skeleton Crew being the next upcoming Disney Plus show. Some people are kind of just prejudging it and pre-basing it off of the way that they felt about the Acolyte. Doesn't make any sense. I know it's like comparing Marvel to DC essentially, so there is that as well. Anyway guys, let me know all of your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below. I would love to hear what you guys are all thinking. Thanks so much for watching today's video. And of course, this has been Unofficial Star Wars. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Have a great one. May the Force be with you as always. Peace out.